dreamt again of him again. Albion against the sea. As the sky squeaked black, they came. And the teeth that flashed. Now he fell without a sound. I dreamed again. I saw the king stare as the hero held him down, and his mares came for him. I saw it all again. All these years later. Now I am an old man, and I still see it there. But let me tell the story one more time, to see if, after all these years, I can understand. I was born in Tiryns, back in the golden time, and when our king was setting great tasks for the rivals at Mycenae, their greatest hero he had in his thrall. I and Albion were the sailors. We were fishermen, traders. We would sail far up to the distant straits and through the straits into the wide beyond. The sea that beats on the shores without tide or tumult. Up to the great river we would trade. We knew all the coast. And when the great hero came down, he said to us, I must sail now to the far great river in the north. And they say that you alone of men know the way. And it was Albion who said it. But we do know the way, sire. But you must know that up there is a tyrant who holds his lands in some sort of dark reflection of this king here. Worse tempered he is, and men say he's little better than a brigand. For he cakes the men by the fields and the women by night, and he feeds them to 4 mighty stallions that he has. Gifts of some dark god of some northern land. We do not counsel you go. We know the sea, but we never land. And the great hero said, well, do not worry. You may stay in the boats, but I must go ashore. So we sailed north up past the straits, where all is quiet, deadly quiet, and the sea beats and beats again against high rocks, and then to the wide sea beyond, keeping to the coast, but far enough that we were a bow shot away, all the way, until we came to the mouths of the great river. And there once again Albion said, I do not want to land. And the hero said, do not worry, you do not have to. And we brought the boat in, and he waded ashore, and then Albion said, no, I can't leave this adventure. I do not want to land. But if we must, we must. And we brought the boat ashore. Now just as well, because it was a stormy night that night, and if our boat had not been ashore, who knows what would happen. The hero stalked inland, and we knew from reputation that if you went any distance, the king would come to enact tribute. And as we watched him, sure enough, we saw, as he climbed the hill, armed men about him. He stood forth from them. And they stood at bay around him. And then he seemed to talk and to go off with them. Well, we lit a fire. We caught fish. We talked of this and that, there under the heavenly stars. Albion's last night alone. It comes back. Always it comes back to me. It was sometime around early morning. Both of us hadn't slept well, if at all. I know I hardly slept. But I was at that point you get to, in the middle of the night, when sometimes you're not as sure whether you're awake or asleep. When there was footfalls, and I seemingly woke, and Albion too. And there was footfalls coming, and we grabbed their weapons and got ready with a boat. For if truth be said, we knew the rumour that the king in the north slit the throats of all those who came to him and fed them to his horse. But still wearing the fetters with which they bound him, we saw him, like a hero he was, stalking down, and he had 4 horses, leading them. Horses. Their teeth were sharper than knives, and longer than a man's hand. Their eyes glowed purple and blue. And he led them to a little knoll near us. And then he took a great staff, made with hard bronze, and he bent it in his hands, and then forced it with deep hammer blows into rock. And he tied the horses up. "Let these night stallions stay," he said. And then he listened, and we could hear very soon what he was hearing. For the king and his war band were coming so fast that we could not push the boat out fast enough. And he said to me, "Come." And then he turned to Albion and said, "Would you look after the horses? Just keep an eye on them. They are bound to the rock." Albion looked scared, and I said, "Shall I do it?" And Hercules said, No, I need you to fight with me, for you are the better swordsman. Albion, take a spear. If you see a shot, fire, but otherwise just guard the horses and keep your distance." And it was true. I was a trained guardsman, and I was to watch Hercules' back. So he went up the road. And soon all thought of Albion was left behind, for we were caught. 20 men came against us. But it couldn't have happened. It didn't matter. For the very first blow, Hercules struck 4 down with his mighty clubs, and the others fell back. And then he threw a spear at the son of the king and killed him outright. And then the king came against Hercules, and Hercules threw him down, wrestling him to the ground, stamping on his face, and he fell as one dead. And then Hercules fell back. But they must have smelt the blood, for I'm sure, without it, they could not have been so strong. The moment the king fell, we heard behind us a sound like the wild neighing that you could get in the very councils of hell. And then a rend, the sound of bronze torn from rock, and suddenly a scream. Ah! And it was Albion. And getting me to carry the king as best I could back up as some kind of hostage, I guessed. Hercules ran like the hero he was. He ran down as fast as he could to the beach. And I came a few minutes after. And I shall never forget what I saw. There was my friend Albion, bow in hand. But the hand was no longer on the body. And standing over him were the 4 dark stallions, their eyes now glowing red, their teeth aflash like some kind of great butchery, and Albion's head in the chief stallion's mouth, big and crunched like a cabbage. And then Hercules furying in no bounds. But he had to take the mares to our king, the tyrant of tyrants. And so he threw the king of these lands, the brigand, straight at his stallions. And the king woke as he hit the ground one last time, and the horses were on him. And he screamed. Silent. But Hercules had gone back to the boat and bought from it a certain wire tackle that men had been said had been given to him by Athena herself, made not of leather, but black thunderbolt iron. And he bound the mouths of the horses with the black bridle, fast, one by one, 4 such bridles. And he put them well fed upon the boat. Then he and I got on the black boat and sailed. And by the kindness of Zeus, we sailed as I had never sailed before, as if a storm was behind us, through the narrow straits, all the way to far Terrence. And all the way, the horses strained against the sky, thunderbolt iron, but were held fast, although they eyed us hungrily. And now I remember it is that look that comes between me and my sleep. And all the way, the great hero Hercules at the head of Albion with him, finger. And when we came to Tiryns, he insisted on laying it in pomp and glory in a mighty tomb. And then we led the horses to the king, and the king said, "Unbind them." And smiling, Hercules unbound the least of the stallions, and suddenly it beat the hand of the king without warning. Beating the hand clean off. And as the wound was healed, we put the bridle back on the mares, and on the stallions, and the king screamed, "Kill them!" Hercules said, "Rather, I think he took them to the temple of Athena, who always loves the mighty horse. And Athena took them, I do not know where. The rumour is that they were in some northern land, where people do not come, and are there to this day. And still they are in my dreams. That moment, under the black sky. And in my dreams, red lightning comes, as I see Albion once again, dead, alive, and dead. And the horses, and the horses, and the horses. One day, when I go to Hades, the dream will go. One day. But Hercules, the great hero, paid me well, set me up as a fisherman, made me a wealthy man. So my life was made, even as the dream came. And now all these years later, at last I can talk of it once again. that it may go.